Hey everyone. First off, disclaimer, the reason my hands look like this is because I dyed my hair today, and although I've tried to wash them for like 18 times with numerous different home remedies for hair dye hands, I remain this kind of walking PSA for why you should wear gloves when you dye your hair. So now that that's out of the way, I'm going to be showing you two of my old sketchbooks today. This one is like roughly 2011 to 2013, maybe 2014. So like when I was in like the first few years of high school. I don't think there's like a single drawing in here from 2012, like sort of skipped that year with the art. And then this is like 2013 to 2015-ish. Both of these I've torn lots of pages out of for like cards and various stuff, and I'm not like really a thorough sketchbook filler. I'll sketch pretty much on any piece of paper that happens to be on hand when I want to draw something. So these weren't like, you know, concept sketches or anything. These were just like, okay, I want to draw this character now, let me just grab this sketchbook that I happen to have. There are a lot of characters for my book that I'm still working on various versions of them, and there are some characters in this one for a book that a friend was working on. Anyway, let's just jump into it. Okay, the first sketch in this one is from 2011, as you can see, and it's a pretty good indication of what I did in 2011, which was like drawing in graphite from reference, like just copying photos exactly, pretty much. This was one of my first attempts as actually drawing like semi-realistic human beings from memory. As you can see, I was not very good at it, but I was so impressed with these at the time. And as you can see, I cut out the one that I thought was the best and put it in my diary to commemorate me being able to draw humans from memory without reference. By the by, if you're like a beginner artist and at some point you feel like me bashing this artwork is also sort of me bashing your artwork, it doesn't really work like that. Like, you feel really cringy about your old artwork and think it's really bad because you've progressed so much from that, but it's not like you look at other artists' artwork with the same criteria. It's just like, it's bad in reference to, or like in comparison to where you're right now, if that makes sense. I will only briefly show you this one because I think Johnny Depp is a steaming pile of garbage, but I did like him very much at one point. So these ones were for my blog at the time. I was doing a post about things that I like. That was my memory stick and, or like flash drive, whatever the hell you call it, and then my phone. This was me on my bike. As you can see, my cartoonish way of drawing humans was quite interesting at the time, as was my hairstyle. This is just to commemorate my deep undying love for Posca pens. This was also going to be something from my blog, which was called Bohemian Rhapsody, by the way. This one and this one were done for class. I read The Handmaid's Tale by, is it Margaret Atwood? I think it is. Anyway, there's that new show on HBO of that I have not watched, but I did read the book in high school and I had a presentation on it, so I drew all the characters so I could sort of demonstrate to all the other people like who the characters were. Then we have lots and lots of character drawings from my book. This is the main antagonist. I'm just gonna mark these because I have new versions of them in the other sketchbook, so I can come back and compare. This is also one of the antagonists. The reason this is taped in like this is because I accidentally drew it upside down and it bothered me, so I had to tear it out and tape it back in the right way around. This is the protagonist, and she does actually have arms, it just looks like she doesn't. Yeah, I had a weird thing about Jesus at some point after I went to my confirmation camp. Yeah, let's not look at that, that's weird. This is when I first started reading A Song of Ice and Fire. I tried to draw a wolf. It kind of looks like my parents' dog, TBH. Anyways, this is a unicorn, also from my book. This is a character from my book who looks very different these days, but she started out as a self-insert character of me as an old lady librarian. Oh, hello, cat. Oh, he just put his tail in my face, so that was helpful. This was for a book project that my friend at the time was working on. She was writing about pirates, and she asked me to draw a sea monster for her. I'm not friends with this person anymore, but you will see a lot of references in the sketchbooks to things we did together because we were very close at the time. I'm not going to tell you the whole story because it's long, and anyway, the only two people who watch my videos that I know of already know the story, so there's that. These were some original characters of mine. I guess this is like the same character who was on the first page. More characters from my book. There's a wizard dude. He also is of a different race these days. Also, he is 100% standing in a field because I couldn't be bothered to draw legs. This is a creature for my book, which is, I don't know. It's supposed to be a mixture between a seahorse, a pig, and then like a bat. This character is totally not based 100% on Elrond or anything. Alright, I was supposed to mark the book characters. Hold on. Yeah, no. Then we enter my Sherlock phase. I think this was the first drawing I did Sherlock themed, and they look like aliens, although I was very proud of it at the time. And I don't mean look like aliens in the way that Benedict Cumberbatch actually looks like an alien. You get my point. I think this was supposed to be a background for my Tumblr blog, but it did not pan out. This is a great example of how different your art can look if you use references. If you don't use references, like if you compare this one to the wizard guy just a few pages back, like this was done in July of 2013, and this cannot have been like more than a month later, so the difference is that I used a reference for this, so it looks better. Anyways, this was supposed to be a coat of arms for something in my book. More book characters, and this definitely is directly copied of that one screenshot of Aragorn and Arwen, so there's that. This I still like. This was a little doodle self-portrait I did to be my icon on Tumblr. And I do like that one, even though some of the fandom references aren't exactly, like, relevant to me anymore. More book characters. This is not how, bows and arrows work, I am well aware, but I did not use a reference, and you can tell. These were referenced, and you can also tell more Sherlock stuff. This was not from reference, and you can tell this was my attempt to... I was going to learn how to draw Benedict Cumberbatch from memory because I was obsessed with Sherlock. Anyway, this was my first attempt to sort of be a point of reference for when I got better at it, which I don't think I ever did because I, got obsessed with other things eventually. A lot of these Sherlock drawings I did on this one psychology class, and my friend Copy would sit next to me and look over my shoulder while I was drawing and suggest what I should draw, and it was a great time. We didn't learn a whole lot of psychology, but this one I still like. I should probably actually do more studies like this from reference so that I could actually learn how to draw anatomy and not just faces, but all in good time. This one is also pretty good still. I was also very into putting song lyrics on things, as you can tell. This character is from my book, and as you can see, this drawing was never quite finished. I mean, I did the character and then I just gave up on the desk. Also, what is this with the... It looks like he has a paw or something. Yeah, I don't know. This was also never quite finished. Maybe because I realized that at this point that Minecraft was way too tall, and then I got frustrated and never finished it. Also, you can see I quite enjoyed drawing the faces, and then when it came to the clothing, I was like, no, I don't wanna, and then I didn't finish it. This was for a project that I worked on with the previously mentioned good friend that I'm no longer friends with, and I'm actually still like really bummed out about that because the project that we worked on was really cool and I sort of wanted to like roll with that, but you know, we're not friends anymore and I don't have the intellectual rights to continue that project, so it's gone forever. RIP. This was when I was briefly very into cabin pressure. The last episode had not come out yet at that point. I don't know if it has since because, you know, I'm not in the UK, so I have limited access to their radio. I think I listened to the whole show because somebody had like uploaded it to Dropbox and linked it to Tumblr or something like that. This I still quite like. This was when I first got into Supernatural, as you can see. I mean, they don't really look that much like the characters, but I sort of like the concept. In case you can't tell, the text in the background is the lyrics to Carry On Wayward Son. I don't watch Supernatural anymore. It was sometime in season 9 that I just, like, it got so bad that I just couldn't make myself watch it anymore. I never got through season 9. And then this is pages torn out of some school notebook, which is, like, really bad Sherlock fanfiction, so let's not look at that. We can move on to this sketchbook instead. So this one starts out pretty much where the last one finished, but now I was also in my Doctor Who phase, so I was practicing the circular Gallifreyan. This quote says, there are no acceptable solutions to some problems. It's one of my favorite quotes still. It looked pretty cool in Gallifreyan. That was not in frame. Okay, there you can see. These pages in this sketchbook come out really easily. There's a failed attempt at writing something. I couldn't tell you what that was. I can't read that anymore. More attempts to draw Sherlock from memory, I can see. This was the thing that I thought up where I would just scroll through my dashboard on Tumblr and sketch people I saw, and as you can see, it was mostly Sherlock and Supernatural at that point. Oh, how the times have changed. This was for my friend's birthday card at the time. I think I colored this in digitally. This one, and some following ones were characters for my former friend's book project, which, you know, I don't really know what to do with these drawings because some of them I kind of like, but not friends with that person anymore and doubt she's ever going to finish that book, so, you know. Also, these poses were heavily referenced from this really gross manga drawing guide that I could just, like, make a rant video about someday if anyone's into that. But yeah, these were all for that. Then now we move back into my own book characters, so let's flip back to what she looked like in the other sketchbook so you can compare. If I can find it still. I thought I marked these. I did not. I did a bad job. List of people who did a bad job. Number 1, me. No, seriously, where is it? There she is. Did not mark that one. So, you can probably agree with me that there was some, you know, notable improvement between these two. Mainly that I moved into color. I sort of got over the thing where I only know how to draw in pencil. And I mean, obviously I also used a reference for this, so that helped a lot, but I feel like that's also a kind of art improvement, that your understanding increases and you know when you need to use a reference and stuff. So this character is that one at the desk. As you can see, he has a whole different hair color now, but I do feel like the design is somewhat improved, and as you can see, I also, you know, drew in something besides just the character, although I still didn't do the whole desk, but at least he's got some files now. This is also a character from my book. Her name is Shakira. It's a long story. Okay, thankfully I looked ahead and censored this one because this has my aunt's address. This was the invitation for my graduation from high school. I heavily copied this design from something I found on the internet, but I don't feel like that's a huge copyright infringement because these were just for personal use for people who I wanted to come to my party, so I don't know. Tell me what you think. Did I break copyright laws? This I still like. This was another supernatural thing. I'm just really bummed out that I did this on paper that's not at all suited to take watercolor, because this would be something I could keep and put on my wall and stuff, even though I don't even like supernatural anymore, because it's pretty, okay? And I really like that song. These were designs for my cake for my graduation party. If I find a picture of that cake and I'm not too lazy while I'm editing, I'll just add that in. This was another character for my friend's book, as was this. And then this was my depiction of me and my friend at the time. Basically, what you need to understand is that these were based on our Tumblr URLs. Hers was Princess Renly, as in Renly from A Song of Ice and Fire, and mine was Sir Hobbit, so this was my depiction of us as, you know, friends based on our URLs. These were more characters for my book. This character accidentally turned out looking exactly like that one guy in Game of Thrones. I can't remember his name, but I did not mean to make him look like that. It just happened by accident. But the outfits were heavily influenced by Game of Thrones, because that's what I was sort of watching at the time. Also, don't watch that show anymore. Just, don't get me started about Game of Thrones. Okay, this was Sebastian Stan for a friend of mine. I was doing requests on Tumblr at the time, although I had not seen Captain America Winter Soldier at that point, because I'm not a huge fan of Captain America. I like the Marvel movies in general, but just Captain America as a character just seems too much like American propaganda than anything. This was the 11th Doctor, and I was just messing up Freudian slip, messing around with a new sort of drawing technique, or just shading, where I would do this very stark blocking thing. It's not the best, but you know, it was an interesting experiment. This was Mary from Sherlock. I like this one, she's cute. And this is a redraw of that main antagonist that we first saw in the other sketchbook here. Here definitely there was some improvement, and I also made a conscious decision to try to make this character not be thin, if that makes sense. But you know, it's really difficult drawing somebody who isn't thin but then is also wearing a corset, because that really squishes your middle, so it's hard to tell. But it's a little bit better than the other one, at least. And she still has the same attitude, as you can tell. She's also a different race these days, by the way. I started out in my book with pretty much all of the characters being white, just because, you know, I've grown up in Finland, and it didn't really occur to me when I first came up with these characters when I was very young that you know, there are people other than white people, but when that did occur to me, I started changing them. So her and everyone who lives in her country is brown now, so I got that going for me, which is nice. Oh boy. So I had a little bit of a snack there because my phone ran out of storage, and I had to fight with it for like 20 minutes to get the previous clip transferred onto my computer, and it was a whole ordeal. But I'm back now. So I only have a few pages left, so let's just finish this super long ass video so I can get to editing it. Oh my god, it's gonna take me all night. Anyway. This is Cersei from Game of Thrones, and this was done in colored pencils, and I'm pretty happy with this because I don't really usually work with colored pencils, and I like how this looks, but you know, I don't usually like colored pencils that much, so it's cool. This is, I believe, Patrick Jane from The Mentalist. That's a good show if you haven't watched it. Like, that's a show that I liked when I was in high school, and I still like, even though, you know, it ended already, but, you know, I'd rewatch it. This was a plan for these. I've done several of these children book things with my dad for my cousins for Christmas, and this was just like the plan for one of them. Somebody on Tumblr told me, well, there was a post that was like, if we're tall, short people are like, I can't keep up with you because you're too tall and my legs are too short, and I was like, I relate to that. And then some tall person was like, just grab onto my sleeve and put on some rollerblades, like, I don't have time for this. And then one of my friends was like, you should draw Gandalf and Bilbo like this, so I did. Didn't use any reference for this, so I guess it's a decent in terms of that. See, this is a mystery. I, stared at this for the longest time, I think with my brother or something, and I could not figure out where this came from because I don't remember drawing this, and this doesn't look like I drew it, and I don't know where this is from or when. It's like a mystery drawing, and it, like, kind of freaks me out, because, like, I have no memory whatsoever of this, and I'm almost 100% sure that I didn't draw this, but if I didn't, then who did? So, yeah, if you know, tell me, I guess. Is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. There's nothing else in this sketchbook except some weird-ass writing things down. I think these are from me and my brother playing Minecraft and writing down coordinates. So anyway, those were my two sketchbooks from high school and slightly after high school for this one. I hope you enjoyed this really long video, and I'll see you next week. Bye!